Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Elite Raceway Season 6. We're here tonight with our round 4 out of 12 with our No Assist Division 2 group. And boy, are we looking forward to this group. It's going to be 18 drivers on the grid. Should be 19. I'm not exactly sure if one of our drivers is awake, but still, 18 drivers, still a solid group. Um, I'm already seeing on the live chat that it is going to be a dry race, a dry qualifying, it seems, a dry race. And I know plenty of them are quite ecstatic about that. Guardians praising the rain gods. Alrighty. But, anyways, yeah, Thanksgiving is officially behind us. So we are back from our break. And yeah, that just means every driver here is recovering from a full turkey hangover, I guess. But, yeah, many of them. I'll give a specific shout out to Leader Leadbag, very hyped up to be facing the walls of Singapore. But I do want to give another shout out. We do have two reserves with us today. That is going to be Kern Dog, which I hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, reserving in the Haas today. And we also have who is there we go, MJW28 reserving in the Ferrari. So big welcome to those two. And yeah, honestly wishing them best of luck on their first race with us here in ERA. But other than that, everybody else ready to battle it out for the points. And yeah, speaking of the points of the championship, we do have Atron, who is currently leading the championship with a total of 90 points. Has demonstrated quite the consistency to score points every race for the first three races. Has won two of the first three races this season. And in second, we actually have Hovan Rally, who we're currently on board with, who has jumped two spots in the standings, is now Altron's closest challenger with a total of 77 points. And of course, we also have El Capitan in third, only 1 point away from Hovan Rally with 76 points. So, yeah, honestly, a phenomenal performance so far for all these drivers. And yeah, definitely to keep an eye on them. You never know. They might actually give us maybe a Norris Verstappen Piastri battle towards the end of the season, but of course we don't want to count out the other drivers. Plenty of them have demonstrated quite the pace. DRS Maestro, one of them, who is definitely a fast one, and yeah, I think who else? There was someone else. Infant Eater. Infant Eater is also one to keep an eye on. But anyways, on the other board, we also have from last race Belgium that kind of detonated the constructor standings. So for the first time this season here in Division 2, we have a tie at the top. And before I get into that, Hovan Rally putting in a phenomenal time, 130.2. But yeah, going back to the constructors, we do have, as I mentioned, a tie at the top. The Papaya team of the McLarens here, Autron and Tefer, have now lost their lead. So they were before ahead on the standings, but El Capitan and Guardians have managed to close the gap for their Kick Sauber team, as we're keeping an eye on El Capitan right now. Both the Sauber and the McLaren with 104 points. So El Capitan crossing the line puts in 7 tenths behind of Hovan Rally, a 130.9. However, we also have more teams to keep an eye on, as I mentioned before. So we have the Williams in third with 101 points. That's 3 points behind first and second. And the Haas in fourth with 100 points. So so it's very close between all the drivers. My goodness. But let's see. Chevy Wolves has put in a 131.0, who I think was a bit unlucky last race. Unfortunately, I don't think he had the performance he was expecting. Chevy Wolves, honestly, a great driver from what we've seen this season and last season. I think usually I expect him to be in the top five. He's a really great driver. But anyways, as I mentioned on Monday, you can also check up all those points, all those both the division and championship standings on our Instagram. So make sure you give us a follow, and that way you could keep track with us regarding our points every week. We try to post them every race day before the following race. But oof, current dog having a little bit of a losing a little bit of the car, I think, right there, eh? Yeah, missing his right end play, going a tad bit too deep, going deep again into the wall. But as I mentioned, first race with us, and Division Two, both a beginner and intermediate level group. So a couple of drivers who have joined to brave the Gnosis environment. Leader Leibag improving and puts in a 132.7. That currently puts him on the top 10. And we do have DRS Maestro, who has currently started his lap time now. And yeah, as I mentioned, we are currently in the Marina Bay Circuit for round 4 here in Singapore. So a dynamite of a track, features 19 corners, 9 left, 10 right, and 4 DRS zones. So it is one heck of a challenge for these drivers. No assist racing amplifies the saying no room for error. I think so. With everything, all the walls all around, limited runoff space, you don't want to miss that braking point nor lock up in the corners. Because if not, you'll be scraping the wall, as the Ars Maestro was just doing, trying to paint a little bit the car. And for those who are watching for the first time on our stream, as I always like to mention, well, first of all, welcome. And yeah, we always like to provide the information that our league ERA runs a 50% race distance. Keep an eye on DRS Maestro going a tad bit deep right there. But yes, a 50% race distance. That is going to be 31 long laps of racing here in Singapore if you haven't checked out our other race groups. But of course, we start off with this short 18-minute qualifying session to set the grid. So all of our drivers currently going around the track, trying to put in that fastest lap. And there's Maestro, even with that mistake, a 132.2, I do think there is plenty of room for him to improve. And we do currently, I believe, have Fat Angel. Actually, no, looks like he's not. But we do have Infant Eater, who has managed to put himself in the front row, a 130.8. And looks like he's going to be going back into the pits. But we do currently have our championship leader, Atron, trying to set in a lap. And speaking of fastest laps, over in Gnosis Division 1 group, aka the tier above this group, Moikuli put in a strong benchmark of 127.7 in qualifying. So amazing lap time by him. Atron, who was actually reserving for Division 1 on Monday night, actually put in a 129.9. So since he's currently leading the championship, we'll be keeping an eye on him. And looks like he beats it by a 10. So Atron putting a provisional pole, a 129.8. And looks like we did have a disqualification for Kern Dog. That might have been, I believe that was for going the wrong way, might have been a little bit of a spin. As we mentioned, walls everywhere on this track, so very difficult to try getting that car straight again. But yeah, as we mentioned, Atron, who has put in a 10th quicker than his Division 1 time, a 129.8. So that is going to be a good reference point for what we'll probably be expecting for this group's qualifying session. But we do have El Capitan here in Sector 1 trying to improve, and has improved by 3/10. Does appear to have a few cars in front of him, as we mentioned in the announcements earlier. This is a very narrow track, and plenty of blind spots, so phenomenal job by the Alpine there to get out of the way for a driver on their hot lap. But El Capitan, keeping an eye on him here, finishing in Sector 2. Appears to be yellow flags right on the next corner. Hopefully nothing Looks like they've gone away, but El Capitan finishing sector 2. We'll see what he's able to do on his time. So he has lost a little bit of time there, but still up by a tenth, almost 2 tenths. Of course, you never know where else he could pick up that time. And actually, it looks like Javi Races was mentioning his wheel died, so no wonder why he had to retire from the session. But El Capitan does improve a 130.5. However, up ahead, our Manson has able to improve, puts himself a 130.1 up in second. And MJW for his debut at the moment, currently in the top 5, although it looks like he has been pushed down. And actually pushed down by his teammate who puts in a 130.3. So close times between all these drivers. It looks like we only have one driver left to put in a quali time, and that is going to be Tefur in the McLaren. The other two, unfortunately, one disqualifying, the other one having some equipment issues. And here's hoping that doesn't happen in the race. I will say that, because for those who are watching for the first time, we do have ghosting disabled in this group. So yeah, you don't want to make a mistake that's gonna cause a pileup, because there's nowhere to escape. But anyways, we do have the Aston Martin of Archangel, who has currently put in 4 tenths quicker here in Sector 1. And we do have quite a couple of drivers who are currently on their out lap. I think those are in the front. Actually, looks like Infant Eater is currently on his hot lap. And that appears to be yellow flags up ahead. That is going to be the Williams getting out of the way. And I will say, from what I've seen so far, great awareness from all the drivers, really, to know where everybody's at on the track and make sure they get out of the way on time. Well, let's see. We do have Infant Eater, who has put in a purple second sector of 5 tenths. And Infant Eater, who has honestly demonstrated a lot of great pace in these first 3 races. Curious to see what he's able to put in. Is going through the final corner, puts in a 130.1. That puts him up in second. And very close to our Manson's time right there. Doing a great job to get out the way for the Aston Martin as well. But we do have the Alpine of DRS Maestro, who I should be keeping the camera off him, technically, because according to him, I tend to catch all the mistakes and all the errors. But I have a little bit of faith in DRS Maestro, honestly. But DRS Maestro, who has put in a purple second sector up 5 tenths, and so that can be enough to put him up quite a number of positions there. So has to make sure he keeps the car stable. Has, oof, and as I say that, going a tad bit wide right there. And it looks like he is going to go back into the pits, which I will add for those who are listening in. It is a very tricky pit entry, so definitely have to be careful with how much throttle you go in through it. We have seen quite a few times drivers go into the barrier. DRS Maestro, one of them, 2 seasons ago. So please be sure. And I was charging my phone, so I'm just going to take a quick look at the live chat. And yes, Kyle, I did notice that I haven't put in the driver of the day votes. Yeah, I've been a little bit busy today, but I will get those out tonight. So Drivers, for those who aren't aware, we do have our whole community try to take part in their group's driver of the day votes. So, for example, today we'll be keeping an eye on everybody's racecraft, everybody's performance to nominate 3 driver of the days nominees. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on everybody. And if you want to give your own suggestions as well, you're welcome to put them uh, on the live chat as well. But let's see, we do have Atron in the McLaren trying to go faster. Oof, a little bit of a wall bump there. And struggling a tad bit, Atron. I do wonder if he's going to choose to back out and attempt to go around one more time. Although it does look like he's going to try finishing up this one, considering he's using up the battery. But Atron in Sector 2, even with those little mistakes, actually up 2/10. So trying to improve as much as he can. There's still plenty of, well, actually, we have less than a minute left of qualifying, so definitely trying to use up as much as he can to try improving and securing that pole position. But I'll try going around the final corner. We'll see what he's able to put in. Puts in a 1:29.3, improves by 4/10. We do have Infant Eater, who has just crossed the line right on time to start his last lap. We do have Hoban Rally just starting his here in Sector 1. Looks to be about a tenth up on his time. And Chevy Wolves as well, trying to race until the end of the until the line to try starting his. Has 15 seconds left. He should be plenty enough to start it. Yeah, looks like we're gonna have to be keeping an eye on all the drivers. So Infant Eater currently in second. Ostron on provisional pole. And has put in a quite the qualifying lap time. I will say, Infant Eater a little bit of a rear loss there, but we'll see here in Sector 2, finishing up right now, how much he's able to improve. And struggling once again. So Infant Eater losing the rear quite a bit and looks to be about a tenth down on his time. We do have our Manson here finishing up in Sector 2, up 3/10. And Hoban Rally in the Williams has managed to put himself in the front row in second, a 1:29.0. However, I will be keeping an eye on our Manson. I do have a feeling he's going to do a much better time. Has to be careful here in the final corners. Try getting that traction. And so our Manson crossing the line just enough. just by a little bit, unable to get past Hoban Rally there on the starting grid. And that might have been a little bit of a mistake there on the final corners, but we do have Chevy Wolves here trying to wrap it up. And so Chevy Wolves, a 1:29.5, a tenth away from Altron, puts himself in second. We do have his teammate who has managed to put in 8th starting on the starting grid for his first debut here in qualifying. And looks like that is going to be our final, or looks like it's going to be our starting grid for the race. Yeah. All right, just going to take a quick look at the Discord chat. And Hoban Rowley giving his respects to Ashran, telling him what a lap. I will say, I will agree as well. And Ashran saying he doesn't even know where he pulled that out. So it's all the practice. Apparently, we'll say it was the turkey from the break. Alrighty, so our starting grid here for round 4 in Singapore. We have Atron starting on pole position. Right next to him, we have Chevy Wolves. In the second row, we have Hoban Rally, our Manson. Top 4 at right there, the front row. From fifth all the way to the end, we have El Capitan, Infant Eater, DRS Maestro, MJW on his debut here with us, doing a phenomenal job to put himself in the top 10 for the qualifying session. In ninth, we have Archangel, Fat Angel right behind them, both angels behind each other. Guardians, Escargo, Hafrenix, Padrompas, Leader Leabag, Tefer, Javi Races, and Kieran, Dog, who I'm actually, yeah, it was because he was going in the wrong way. So unfortunately, disqualifying on his first quality session with us. But anything can happen in the race. You never know. So best of luck to all these drivers. They do have about 3 to 5 minutes to really prepare themselves before I give the ready up to initiate the timer. So yeah, just if you're listening for the first time, if you're a driver listening in, big reminder to not ready up, please. We don't. You have no formation. There's no formation lap on, so you'll be diving straight into the race. So make sure you take these couple minutes to really reset and uh, prepare yourself for the race, especially lap one, as we like to remind all of our drivers. Yeah, just make sure to be cautious, be sensible. Ghosting is disabled, so any slight mistake, you are on cold tires. Uh, so you know if you overcommit, that is going to cause quite a bit of chaos. So uh, just a little food for thought. But anyway, strategy calls. We have seen typically the one-stop strategy work here. We've seen drivers in past races aim for the mediums to hards, or the reverse strategies, hards to mediums. Where for this race, I think actually for this game, I feel like we've seen a lot of drivers really pull it off, and I think it's worked a lot better than the usual medium to hards. But anyways, we mentioned before Singapore is very punishing on mistakes. We saw in Division One safety car marking its presence on the track 4 times. So those 31 laps felt more like 50. Um, and yeah, tiers one and two also had safety cars. So yeah, these drivers are going to have to be ready for surprises, be ready for to demonstrate flexibility with the strategy. And of course, these safety cars don't usually come out for dirty racing. It's just simple mistakes sometimes, grand majority of the time. And especially as I mentioned, no assists. Literally by giving quite a few funny gifs on the Discord chat. Ay, ay, ay. All right, so they do have the ready up to start. I'll take off the strategy list in case anybody wants to do a few last second changes. And so yes, as I mentioned, we don't have formation lap on, so these drivers are diving straight into the race. Uh, and yeah, as I mentioned, just make sure to be careful. And most importantly, have fun. But can Atron defend his lead there? A pole position, can he defend it against Hoven Rowley and Chevy Wolves? So, 4 lights, 5 lights, and off they go. And let's put all this information up. Looking at the position changes, looks like we already have quite a number of positions happening already. Chevy Wolves going on the inside, gets the pass done on Atron before the corner. And looking up behind, a couple changes happening in the back as well. Hoven Rally looking to be battling out with Infant Eater. Although that seems to be a virtual safety car. I don't see any yellow car out yet. And actually, no, that is a full safety car already here in lap one. I'm curious to know what may have brought it out, considering we have all the drivers still alive. Although looks like that is going to be brought out due to damage dealt by Guardians and Fat Angel right in front of him. Looks like that may have been a reset to track. We'll take a look at that afterwards. But just a big reminder to the drivers, no resetting allowed. Especially considering this has ghosting disabled. You don't want to land in front of another driver. Um, So yeah, just a big reminder to the drivers for that. I don't want to assume yet, but Yeah, just one of our big rules here. But anyways, we do have quite a number of position changes happening that have happened already. So Hobby Races and leader Leebag up 5 positions. So already a great start for those two. Chevy Wolves doing a great job to get the move done on Atron. And looking at the strategy calls, looks like the top 5 have opted for the mediums. We only have 3 drivers on the hard compounds. That is Infant Eater, DRS Maestro, and leader Leebag on the hard tires. And I say most likely Guardian's going to have to enter the pits and change out of those tires, considering he has to get rid of that fix that wing. But we do have El Capitan, who has also gained 2 positions, has gotten the pass done on our Manson and Hoven Rally. And it looks like we do have a couple of things happening in the back as well. So Escargo has actually opted to pit. We have quite a number of drivers who have opted to pit. I do wonder, oof, Kern Dog picking up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And Guardian's actually retiring from the session. So that is going to leave 17 drivers on the track. Fat Angel also picking up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As we mentioned, if you're watching in just now, this is No Assist Division 2, and yeah, that implies no racing line. So all these drivers having to be very aware of their braking points, very aware of where to slow down the car. And it looks like if it's caught a few drivers, so 2 drivers with the 10-second penalties, Current Dog and Fat Angel. But yeah, we most likely have 2 more laps of the safety car. We're currently waiting for the rest of the grid to catch up. Current Dog actually switching over to the soft tires. And I do see Guardians has mentioned something on the live chat. Let me just take a quick look. And oh boy, Guardian saying I don't. Of course, I don't know if this was an incident between drivers or just a simple driver error. But Guardian's mentioning he's never taken so much damage in my life without being retired from the session. So unfortunately, Guardian's picking up side pod damage, rear wing damage, and front wing damage. That is quite the Singapore really beat you up. My goodness. Oh man, that is very gutting for Guardians though, because honestly, also a great driver. All these drivers are great, but yeah, and Guardians, his team, the Kick Sours, as we mentioned earlier, tied in the front of this championship with the McLaren. So El Capitan going to have to carry the team, I guess. And I do see we also have supporters on the live chat as well. So JNB8 giving El Capitan a little bit of a cheer. And yeah, I think we've seen you quite a number of times on the stream, so we do appreciate the views and the support to the drivers. All the drivers, I know a lot of them send the streams to family, friends to watch and root for them. And yeah, we appreciate it. I know the drivers appreciate it as well. But yeah, we're just waiting for a couple of the drivers to catch up. And looks like we have Fat Angel, who has retired from the session, has retired in the pits. So yeah, as we mentioned, Singapore not an easy track. Very difficult, especially with no assist. So a lot of these drivers really brave for taking on the challenge. And from what we've seen in the front, honestly, it's been some really good racing. But safety car is in this lap. And so we have Chevy Wolves who got the run on Autron at the start, up a position, now currently leading the race, giving the safety car enough time to enter the pit lane. And yeah, Chevy Wolves trying to get some warmth into those tires. And looks like Chevy Wolves is off, and so creating himself a really good gap in front of Autron. Looking up behind, looks like all the drivers just tailing behind of each other. And looking like professionals, really, I will say that. So as I mentioned, it is 31 laps in total. And oof, that is El Capitan who has lost the traction there and unfortunately into the wall. And luckily no other driver was caught up in that, but El Capitan losing the car, and I don't think he actually picked up any damage, I will say that. Trying to see if we could get a better look there, but looks like, yeah, El Capitan has no damage luckily, so now has a lot of work to do. Now tailing right behind a Padron Paz. Padron Paz going a tad bit wide right there. And so we still have small gaps in the mid pack as well. Autron over a second behind of Chevy Wolf. Chevy Wolf's having a really great start there and trying to use those tires to his advantage, but we will be having DRS enabled on the next lap. And if it stays this close, we'll probably be having quite the mini DRS train. And as I say that, DRS Maestro going off track and unfortunately now under pressure by Archangel, but Chevy Wolves putting in the fastest lap of 134.4. And as I mentioned, we will be having DRS enabled on this lap now. And DRS Maestro scraping the wall a tad bit. He does have the DRS from Infant Eater to defend. Archangel having the DRS unable to get close enough to make a move there, but looks like DRS Maestro going wide again. I do think he has now picked up left end plate damage. We'll take a better look here on the full view, and yep, DRS Maestro missing his left end plate. So that is going to be a challenge there for the Alpine. He does have Archangel now putting in the pressure and is going to have the DRS on the next upcoming DRS zone. And so Archangel needs to have a good launch here, but looks like DRS Maestro with the missing end plate having just enough straight line speed to really defend his position. And ooh, as I say that, DRS Maestro locking up and into the wall there for a little tap. And now under pressure by MJW, who wisely actually chooses to back out of there, doesn't try going for the move, but DRS Maestro most likely going to have to pit. And of course, as I mentioned, oof, and it looks like that is going to be another safety car. And don't know what all these safety cars coming out from drivers in the back. That might have been, did see a driver with damage, and that may have been Escargo, who is putting the Voldemort look. I'm going to have to go into the pits. Oh, and looks like that may have been me getting kicked out for the first time in a while. My goodness. Alright, let me see if I can hopefully go back into the session.